Hello, James here. Welcome to today's live session with David. We'll be talking about the immigrant market for language education. So David is waiting on the back. I will invite him to the stage in just a few minutes. So before that, I want to make sure we don't have any technical problems on these platforms. Right now, we're streaming to Facebook, Instagram, oh no, Facebook, LinkedIn, and YouTube. So I know quite a few people are watching right now. So if you can let us know where you're watching, which platform are you using to watch this live session right now, and can you hear me and see me okay? So we just to make sure we don't have any technical problems right now. If you can let me know, please, in the chat. All right. So in the meantime, I'll double check these places too myself, just to make sure we don't have any problems before we get started. Okay. And if we are all set, feel free to use the chat to introduce yourself as well in the chat and let us know where you're tuning from, and why you're here. What you want to learn from this session today. I think. Okay, let me see. All right, so the YouTube is good. I think YouTube is good for now. LinkedIn. Yeah, I got quite a few comments on LinkedIn. Hi, Debbie, and Aaron. Hi, Aaron. Hearing you perfect per Joe. Thanks for that. Luo Jing, hello. Yes, I can hear and see. Thank you. Heaven Marsh from Fort Collins, Colorado. Okay, I can hear you fine. Thank you, Heaven. Appreciate that very much. Let me just go to my live session here. All right, great. LinkedIn, YouTube. Alexandra, hello, nice to see you again. Yeah, so it seems like we are working great on all these platforms right now. Harus, I can hear you. Great, yeah. Let us know where you're from and why you're here. What you want to learn about this? What interests you about this topic? That would be great. So I'm gonna use maybe just 2 minutes very quickly to introduce myself. All right, and I'll share a few things about these monthly events we do all the time. So first of all, my name is James Liu. I run this business called Bowie Strategy with my partner Steffi. So we at Bowie Strategy focus on helping teachers to grow. Okay, in many different ways, financially, mindset, and their life, their career. We usually help teachers, grow with entrepreneurship. A lot of teachers want to start their own business, go independent. Um, that's what we do, and we also help teachers monetize their knowledge. So I know a lot of teachers are very experienced, very professional. They have a lot of knowledge to offer. We help them monetize them through digital courses, digital products, memberships, books, and we also help teachers with their career advancement. So if you want to look for a job in or out of education, so we have some services there to help you. So basically, if you're a teacher, if you're an educator, and you are ready to change, please follow us. Okay, that's what we do. We help teachers grow. Yeah, so we've been doing this since 2019. It's been more than 6 years. We've worked with over 5,000 teachers in one-on-one programs, group sessions, and through our courses, memberships, and yeah. So right now we're doing great, helping teachers. So definitely follow us. And very quickly, I want to show you this monthly event we run every month. Okay, every month, and this session today is one of them. So if you are not familiar with what we do, so let me just show you window here, this one. Yep. As you can see, I'm gonna share this link with you guys just a minute. So this is our event homepage. So we have all of our events we run every month published on this page. So if you don't want to miss anything from us, make sure you bookmark this link, or you can click on this link to subscribe to our calendar. So our calendar is gonna be automatically added to your calendar, so you don't miss any live events we run every month. And the biggest events we're gonna run in August is this AI fluency webinar. So AI has been very popular, very kind of hot topic if you feel like you can get better with AI, or you want to know what's going on with AI, how that gonna affect me as a teacher, educator, how that gonna affect education, what's the best practices of using AI. No, you don't want to miss this session on August 28th. It's gonna be a workshop. We actually have some exercise to work together to help you advance your AI skills. Okay, and this is the session we're hosting right now. And just to point out, Steffi, my business partner, she also runs this Teacher Mindset Matters. It's a mindset program, mindset live session. She hosts every other Wednesday, so bi-weekly Wednesday. You can watch all the previous live sessions. You can also listen to our podcast. So if you feel like a mindset is what stop you from, getting what you want, okay? So I'm gonna share this link with you guys very quickly. Now I will just invite and stop sharing. I'll invite David to the live and let him introduce himself, okay? Hey, David, can you hear me okay?
Hi, James. I got you. Can you hear me?
Yes, yes. Hey, how are you today?
I'm doing great. How about yourself?
Doing great, doing great. Yeah, why don't you just very briefly introduce yourself to the audience?
Yeah, thank you. Well, as I'm known by all my students, my name's David El Profe. I'm grateful and honored for the invitation to come here and talk about something that's so near and dear to my heart, which is helping teach immigrants that are coming here to the United States, looking for better opportunities for themselves and their families. I just want to first tell everybody I've been working with James as my personal coach for about a year now, I guess, maybe a little bit more than a year. I've found James to be highly educated and professional, very knowledgeable about what it takes to teach outside of a traditional classroom. I've done coaching sessions with James. I've been in the Teachers Academy. I've worked with Steffi. Just everybody on the team is really good. James has done a great job with Boway's strategy of putting together this really valuable resource for us as teachers looking to do something a little bit different.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much, David, for that. Yeah. So today's topic is about immigrants, right? For language teaching. And I know that's kind of your main focus, helping these immigrants in Colorado, where you are, and with the English. So let's start with talking about this market overall. So I'm an immigrant myself in the U.S. I know, a lot of my friends from China, from other places, were all immigrants. Kind of understand the situation here. And to be honest, I think my English, I have benefited a lot from my English. That's one of the reasons I started this business. So from your perspective, like, how do you see this growing immigrant market for language learning or language teaching?
It's huge right now. I think it's been big for a very long time here in the United States. My entire lifetime has, seen a lot of immigration coming up from people from, Mexico and Central America that I think are looking for better opportunities to make some money, to live that American dream. But certainly in the past, 10 years, I think migration is now driven more from desperation, not just opportunity, especially all over Latin America. In Cuba for a long time, communism was introduced and Cubans are living off of what they call the libreta, which is like a food ration that includes a few pounds of rice and beans, a dozen eggs, a couple of pounds of sugar to live off every month. I've had, many friends from Cuba that have actually come over here on an inner tube. They got in an inner tube and floated across the Florida Straits, across shark-infested waters. And I mean, that's not done because they're looking for better opportunities. That's done out of desperation. They don't have food to eat. We're seeing the same thing happen with political shifts all over Latin America. Certainly, again, in the last 10 years of Venezuela kind of following that same pattern and shifting over to communism, forcing, tens of thousands of Venezuelans to leave the country. I think here in Denver in 2023, we saw over 40,000 people from Venezuela arrive. And that's just here in Denver. That same thing happened all over this country. Latin America has just been devastated for years with civil wars, political turmoil, very bleak economic opportunities. And it's just, I think now more than ever, people are coming here just looking to survive and not just make a better life for themselves, but to survive.
Absolutely, David. I guess some of the audience or teachers who are watching, especially if they're in the US, they might just wondering the impact of ICE. So just a heads up, we don't want to be political in any way, but I think that something matters, that something is going on right now. Like, how do you see these ICE actions, right? Impacts on these immigrants, or especially for when it comes to language learning, language teaching?
It's traumatic. People are living in fear. People have stopped going to work for fear of getting deported or sending their children to school. On my end of things, I've actually seen an increase in students in more of a sense of urgency because I've heard stories of people out there, ICE showing up to a workplace and they're just taking people that don't speak English. If you can speak English enough to say, hey, no, I live here, then they say, oh, this person must not be an immigrant. Let me go grab this person that doesn't speak English. It's a scary time for people. It's not just the ICE raids, it's the new executive order too that has for the first time officially put English as the official language here in the United States. And so now, any type of official government transaction you have to do has to be done in English. We've never had that here in the United States before. So it's certainly, I don't want to talk too much about fear and stuff like that today, but, people are scared with these ICE raids. It's really happening.
Absolutely. Okay, that's great. So some teachers may wonder, okay, so given what's going on with ICE, so are immigrants leaving? Affect this market? Do I need to, like, is this the right time to actually set up something to help them? So based on what you said, I think these people are they need your help even more than before. That's good. So I know you've been working with immigrants, I don't know since when, quite a few years ago, right?
Oh yeah, I mean, since 2001,
2001.
I started learning Spanish. I was living in an apartment building where all my neighbors were from Mexico and Central America, and initially it was just to make friends. I wanted to talk to my neighbors, so I took it on as my mission to learn their language and their culture. Years later, I opened up a language school here in Denver in about 2012, and I'm working full time with the local immigrant population here.
Good. So it's been more than 20 years. So tell us what the impacts, like, as a language teacher, as a English teacher, we can make on these immigrants' lives, from what you're saying in the past 20 years.
James, the work we do as educators is so important. We're changing people's lives. I think right now, people are really fighting for their lives and their dignity. But I think there's a couple of different points I want to make here in terms of the impact of language learning. One is workforce transformation, making more money. Another is just overall cultural integration and overcoming that psychological culture shock phenomenon. And then just being able to use language as a way to integrate with socially and make friends. And start new families and stuff like that. I had a really good story of one of my students named Pierina that was from Peru. I think she first got here to Denver around 2016, 2017. She was doing whatever job she could get. She worked in kitchen, she did house cleaning and hotel housekeeping and stuff like that. And so initially she was kind of coming to classes on and off. She'd come for a few weeks, stop, life got complicated. One day she came back to me and said, Profe, this time I'm in it to win it. I'm 100% dedicated. I want to learn how to speak English. to get my real estate license. And she really just, became a marvelous student. She was a pleasure to work with. She got her real estate license. Right now, she's selling anywhere from like 1 to 10 houses per month. She's got this incredible advantage that she speaks English, so she can do real estate transactions with Americans, and she can also do real estate transactions with the Hispanic marketplace too. So, I mean, someone like that is just living this, I've seen her transform from kind of this scared young girl coming to a new country looking for a better life to just this powerful businesswoman. She shows up and she's got this presence about her.
Yeah.
That's just amazing to see.
Yeah, I think what really resonated with me here in this story, it is not the English skill per se, like how advanced, you are moving from A1 to B1 to C1. I think that's not what really resonated with me. I think what I felt the most is the confidence level. I feel like, it just really reminds myself like things with me. So when I first came to the States, right, I'm very forward, kind of open person, like very easygoing. So kind of my personality actually changed when I first came to the States, when I was not very confident in my language.
Yeah.
So then I had to really work hard on my language. When I get to the level where I can really free to speak, and then since then I've been able to really reflect my full personality that I used to have when I speak my native tongue, Chinese. So that I think probably that students was like her right now before, in her own country. Just because of the language, she have to recompress her personality because all these boundaries, right? She has now. The ability to speak freely really enable her to shine, to be her own herself again.
Absolutely. But what you're describing there is actually what's called the 4 or the 5 different phases of culture shock. So when people first get to a new country, they're in what's called the honeymoon stage, where everything's bigger and better and more beautiful. And then because of lack of not just the language, but the cultural understanding, the differences in culture and the customs and stuff like that, they go into what's called the anxiety phase of culture shock, where it's kind of like, if you can imagine, walking into a restaurant and it feels like the music stops and everybody turns and looks at you. That's not really happening. It's something that's happening in your head, but it causes you to shut down and feel kind of paranoid or sensitive. You can fall into a depression and stuff like that. And the only way to really get out of that is to learn the new language and learn the culture, to learn what's expected of you. And then you go through kind of the adjustment and then the full integration phase. And so that's what we're helping students break through is going through all these different phases. And
yeah, it's amazing. Just like Alexandra said, that's amazing. How much impact can make on people's lives, right? So for the rest of you guys, if you have a comment, feedback, feel free to put them in the chat and share with us. And if you have been enjoying this live session, don't forget to click on the like button so that we can get this live session promoted to more people so you can see it. So we're gonna appreciate that very much. Yeah, if you have any questions for David or for myself, we'll put in the chat as well. We'll come back to these questions at the end. Okay, thanks for that. So we talk about the impacts, and I guess a lot of teachers who registered for this live session wanted to learn more about this. They are interested, and we got like over 500 people, clicked on attending this live event. I can see the traction. I can see how many people are actually interested in this. So I also understand there might be some concerns. So working with the immigrants, right? So I want you to, from your experience, right, 20 years working with immigrants, what are the challenges the teachers might have, working with these immigrants, so we can give them like some expectations to help them?
Yeah, great question. And real quick, just because I saw a comment come in here, I forgot at the beginning to share my LinkedIn profile. So I'm going to add that here in the comments.
Yeah, I was about to do that too. But anyways.
So yeah,
Yeah.
You can find me on LinkedIn, send me a connection, an invitation, and I'll happily connect with you. The challenges when working with immigrants are definitely there. You've got often some big education gaps that you might have to overcome. It's not uncommon for me to work with somebody that stopped going to school in the third grade because they had to help their family out on the farm or on the ranch, So, using academic terms that for us as a teacher might sound so simple, like a noun or an adjective or a verb, that can just kind of shut people down and confuse people. Another one I'd like to address is this big push towards technology and digital courses and applications, and those are all great, depending on who you're working with. If your niche is working with IT professionals from France that are learning English to negotiate, software contracts with their providers, they're going to do great with a digital course and an app, right? But if you're working with somebody that just got here from Honduras and has never even used an email address before, trying to force them into using a digital application or something like that. I've seen a lot of local programs here in Denver that do that. They don't have books. It's all about the apps because they want to track the time the students are spending in the app to prove, like what they're doing to justify their funding. Unfortunately, it just, it oftentimes it doesn't work. Money is oftentimes, I think it's actually a misconception. It certainly can be a barrier, especially if you just got here from Cuba or Venezuela. You're trying to find food and housing, and you certainly don't have much money to spend on English classes. But I've been working with this community for a long time, and my students are pulling up to class in $80,000 trucks with brand name clothes. Yeah, they're immigrants, but they're working hard. They're working in construction. They're making a lot of money, so it's not necessarily a barrier. Just be a little bit careful about that, because certainly it can be. But I think I've talked to a lot of ESL educators who are like, well, I don't want to work with that market, because like, how am I going to make money? I got to go volunteer at a local church, and that's just not the case. It can be pretty financially lucrative if it's done the right way. You have to provide considerable value. Scheduling issues can be a challenge. I mentioned those students driving the $100,000 trucks. Well, guess what? They're working 6 days a week or 7 days a week. So being flexible with scheduling can be very helpful for that. And then just having a deep empathy for what they've been through. If you have, I've got students that have walked here from Venezuela. Just imagine the desperation to say, what, I'm going to walk to the United States from Venezuela, and they're going through the jungle and they're going through all these different countries. Sometimes they're running from gang violence or cartels that are trying to extort them on the way or rob them. So a lot of students can be suffering with some psychological trauma. And so I think as educators, this also there are challenges, but it presents opportunities for us. And when done the right way, it's just so beneficial for everybody that's involved. Our local communities, our teachers can make a little bit more money than they're used to. Our students get better access to courses and learning experiences. So it's good when done right, when you overcome those challenges.
So David, I think definitely to me, you're a success in this market. So given all these challenges language teachers can face, how you are handling them. Let's start with them one by one. For example, the technology, right? You mentioned that. So how do you handle that? Given these immigrants might not be the best at technologies. So what do you do? How you work with them to avoid this? Yeah.
Well, I have spent since I think 2014 is when I decided to actually write my first book. And I've been doing that ever since. I've actually published about 20 different workbooks for students that are very affordable. They're available on Amazon. And they correspond with my program, which is I use PowerPoint presentations in class to guide my students through my lesson plans. And then they have a physical, tangible workbook that they can go home and use to study and practice between classes. I do use technology. Actually, something you taught me how to do was to create a Facebook group where I've actually built my own little digital course inside the Facebook group. I highly recommend everybody go through James' training on that, because it's been a game changer. I introduced that, I think, in about January of this year. Almost all of my students have a smartphone and they know how to use Facebook. So if the app is really easy to use, it can be incredibly powerful. And, you know, where I used to spend an hour delivering a lesson, my students that are going through the digital course in the Facebook group and watching the videos and doing all the activities before they come to class, we're actually now doing 2 classes in an hour, 2 lessons in an hour. So it's been pretty amazing. So I don't want to say like technology is not good, right? Because it is. It has its place. I think just some of these apps that are out there are not as user-friendly as everybody might like them to be.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think what I want to say is you need to really know your audience and be flexible with things, right? So you shouldn't just force people to do what you used to do, and you want to make it easy for them. Of course, you know, while they're working with you, you're introducing new things, they might be able to take on that. But like these institutions, they just force people to use the app, which is gonna cause a lot of retention problem. People are gonna, oh, I got so overwhelmed, I don't even know how to use the app, and they just drop, right? So that's what I want to mention. So maybe another thing very quickly about the challenges, you mentioned the money. So I think while we are working together, one of the things I think we did great is to really kind of change the business model a little bit. So maybe you can tell us about this monthly thing that you do, like just kind of work on the money side with the immigrants, with the offer, like the $97 offer. If you want to comment on that, how that has helped you.
Yeah, for sure. So classes do, they have to be affordable, and they also have to be valuable. I've found kind of this sweet spot with my students of offering 1 class per week with a small group class for $97 per month. And I actually do that right here. This is my classroom. So kind of because of the size constraints I have here, I typically don't allow more than 7 or 8 students in a class. But I found most people can typically afford $97 a month. And then it's flexible. So I've got other classes that meet twice a week, and it's $197, or 3 times a week, it's $297. Speaking of the money, I did just want to say here, it looks like Aaron Hernandez has asked a question. Can immigrants get government funding? It all depends on where you are, which country you're in. Every country has different opportunities and stuff like that. I don't know here in the United States of any government funding that would directly go towards an immigrant to pay for classes. I do know there are quite a few programs out there, like the AFLA program that's a government-funded grant that goes to academic institutions and nonprofits to provide classes. So it's not necessary. It's not like you can go apply for the money as an immigrant coming here, but you can find places that are funded. Sometimes those places, however, are those ones that are using those apps. They're forced by the government to use this app, so it tracks their usage. So they're not always, the best.
That reminds me, I think one of the very first few questions I asked you when we first worked together was like, these immigrants can go to these places to learn English for free. Why they are paying you to learn English? That was one of the first few questions I asked you. So what was the answer again?
Yeah, that's a really good question. There are dozens of organizations right here in Denver, including churches, including nonprofit organizations, including colleges and universities that are funded by the government, or they rely on volunteers to make it free. I think volunteering is very admirable. But I do, think it kind of takes away a little bit from our profession. I'm a professional teacher that I've studied for years and years and years to provide these classes. It's a fine line. So I support it, but at the same time, sometimes it creates this kind of lower quality, or it's not quite as good as what I like to do here is really focus with small groups, get my students talking, and provide this really comfortable environment that I've got almost 20 different levels of English, versus a place where you go for free classes. You walk in, there's 30 to 50 students, you've got 6 different levels mixed into the class. Or you might be in a situation where you're working with a volunteer that's never taught English before and is kind of trying to figure out all this stuff on their own. So how do I charge students $97 a month? It's all about quality versus quantity, right? When I get that question, I say it's not, the time that you spend in class, it's the attention that you're getting from your teacher. It's the expertise you're getting from your teacher. And the overall quality of the experience.
And I think just quickly add on that, from a business perspective, I don't like to offer any like teaching coaching for free. So we have free materials. That's totally a different thing. But if you want to work with me, I don't want to do it for free just because I'm professional, right? Like what you said, professional. But on the other hand is, I don't think you will get the same results if you just get it for free versus you actually pay for it. So the level of commitment is different, right?
Yeah, it's a motivator. I've had students thank me for charging them money. Hey, I went to 10 different free programs and I just never took it seriously, and you're charging me real money, so I'm going to take it more seriously. I think there's a great quote from Napoleon Hill that talks about anything that you get for free is often undervalued and just not appreciated, right? So
absolutely.
Just having that motivation.
Absolutely. Great. Thanks for sharing that so far. And we got quite a few more people joining us right now. So if you haven't introduced yourself, please use the chat to let us know where you tuning in from right now. And do you have questions for us? Love to see some questions and a comment and feedback. If we cannot answer your question right now, we'll definitely circle back and answer them later on. And David, if there's any question you want to answer right away, let me know as well. Okay. So
it looks like one from Manel Lydia Khalil. What about the use of apps to foster the learner's vocabulary practice? Oh yeah, I love that one. That's one of my favorites. And an app that I really like using is Quizlet, which is it's just basically digital flashcards. And it kind of gamifies the experience. I'm a big, huge fan of Quizlet. I have found, though, sometimes it's not as user-friendly as, I've had a lot of students report back to me that they just couldn't figure out how to use it, that they're getting asked to sign up for a premium account. They don't realize they can skip the premium account and keep using the free account, or maybe Quizlet changed the requirement. I don't know. For that purpose, I like Duolingo too. Duolingo is great for learning vocabulary. It's really fun. Any type of app that supports learning in a fun way that's easy to use, I'm a big fan of.
Absolutely. Thanks for sharing that. Thanks for the question there too. So the next part, we talk about the challenges for language teachers, right? So what are the opportunities? Why teachers should really consider this if they are equipped to work with immigrants? What are the real opportunities out there, and what's happening should excite the teacher community about this opportunity in this market?
Yeah, for sure. It's the basic core principle of a free market society, which is supply and demand. As teachers, as language teachers, we're in big demand right now. It's unfortunate and it's really sad, but all this turmoil all across Latin America it's creating a huge opportunity for us as teachers here in the United States. And that same thing's happening in Europe, right? With people leaving parts of Africa and the Middle East, and that's putting, a lot of new people in countries all over Europe. So I think whenever you have something that there's a big demand for it, it creates an opportunity, and it just takes the right sort of mentality and experience to try and figure out how to create win-win situations here. I know I see a lot of comments here about the free classes and charging people money. I don't want to make it sound like I'm in this for money, because I'm certainly not in this for money, but there's some financial incentives for doing it right now. I'm getting dozens of calls every week, and basically I'm full. My students I've got all my classes maxed out right now, and I don't have the capacity to take on more students right now. So just as long as you're creating a win-win situation, you're winning because you're going to earn what you're worth as a teacher. And it's more than what you can make in a traditional classroom if you do what I do. You step outside of the traditional classroom. It's a lot more. But I think, the real opportunity for us, and just my personal mission of really getting people together and uniting the Spanish speaking and the English speaking communities, it just creates this better world where, neighbors talk to each other, people go out to lunch with each other. We're overcoming xenophobia. We're overcoming racism. We're making people think that, like, oh, it's great to live here in the United States, and Americans love us, and Americans welcome us. And if you look at the news right now, that's not the story you're getting, right? So that's one of my main reasons for doing this.
Yeah, I'm already seeing Christina already asked how to find students, how to get started. So that's the next part I want to talk about. David, maybe can you just quickly tell us, like, how does this work? If for teachers who are interested in working with immigrants in their own country, right? Yeah. And how does this thing go? Like, how does it work?
Sure. So I actually wrote a guide, a little PDF document earlier this year, and I'm giving it away for free. So anybody can shoot me a message on LinkedIn, and I'll gladly send you the guide. It's pretty easy to work through, but it basically just breaks it down into step-by-step, easy steps to follow, starting with understanding who your students are, why there's this big, huge need and demand for what we're doing today. It'll talk to you a little bit about if you want to create your own program, or if you want to use my program. I've got a program that's easy to use. And then it teaches you how to find students as well. How to start, how to launch your first class. All you have to do is start with one class, get started, put yourself out there and get started. And then ongoing operational and logistics for creating a successful language program that you can do 100% on your own. It's pretty easy to follow. It's a lot of fun too.
Yeah, I'll just share the link with you guys again. So we don't want to share it here with the link. Everyone can get it. It's just for people who are interested in understanding more about the path, the process of getting these immigrant students, how you can set it up. I know David is getting a lot of calls every week. He's fully booked, and this $97 program runs really well. So if you want to see what he's doing, so you can replicate, you can just follow. So this guide is going to help you so much. So I'm going to share this link. Just find David on LinkedIn if you are on LinkedIn, and send him actually create a secret word immigrant. So if you send him this secret word immigrant, then David will know, okay, you're requesting that guide. Okay, so I'm just sharing the link with you guys again. And David, do you mind if I quickly share that guide with people? Just tell them what it has in the guide. Is that okay with you?
Yeah, absolutely. I created the guide for my love and my passion of teaching and learning languages and uniting people. So this, I'll be grateful for the opportunity to share this with anybody that's interested in joining me on this mission of uniting our communities and creating more trust and friendships and community. So
Yeah.
please share.
So yeah, I'm gonna just go through these chapters very quickly. And David, you wanted to comment on anything? Feel free to. So
Yeah.
as far as I can see, like chapter 1, understanding ESL basics, the power of chapter 2, power of specializing in ESL teaching. Chapter 3, why focus on Spanish speaking adults,
And
and
I'll just stress
yeah,
that real quick, James. So my niche is on teaching Spanish speakers. Replace Spanish with French. Replace Spanish with Arabic. Replace Spanish with Chinese. Right? Like sometimes people see that. Oh, well, I don't speak Spanish, so I can't use this. The information is highly relevant. It doesn't matter what the native language. That's just my specialty
yeah,
because I love
absolutely,
Spanish.
absolutely. I think you can get inspired by this guide if you're not teaching Spanish, if you're teaching other languages. So it will work very similar to this. And next chapter 4, what to teach, and talk about curriculum, right? Pre-made curriculum, and that's where you have these books already developed. I know some teachers are already using them to teach Spanish students. Then where are you teaching? Going to teach in person, online? When to teach? I think that's about scheduling, right? Scheduling. That's
Exactly. Yeah.
yeah. So chapter 7, how to get students. That's the question from who asked the question? Yeah,
Yeah.
Christina.
Yeah.
Uh, yeah,
Christine.
Christine. How to get students and launch your programs, and then ongoing operational logistics. This is goal. Logistics, because that's what really very different. Teaching immigrants, especially you're doing in-person teaching, right? There are lot of logistics. So I, if you cannot streamline them or make sure your operation makes sense, you're gonna spend a lot of time on admin, bookkeeping, and then you feel like, oh my god, I'm not making money because you're spending so much time on this. So logistics, that's really really important. And then some case studies, and there's some frequent asked questions. Yeah. So as David mentioned, if you can message David on LinkedIn with this a secret word, immigrants, he's gonna share this guide right with you for free. So anything else I missed here, David, with this guide, or you want to comment on?
Yeah, I mean it's a high level guide, right? It's probably not going to answer all of your questions, but I think if you just read it with an open mind, and a willingness to learn, it's going to kind of inspire you to go down this path with me. And I'm certainly available for follow up questions and more personalized attention. We've got a couple other things in the work that we're going to be announcing pretty soon. I don't want to give it away too much right now, but I've been working with a few teachers to get their own programs started using this approach, this methodology.
Yeah.
So that's really exciting. More on that to come. But the first step is really to go through that guide. If you like what you see, great. I hope you learned something valuable. If you feel like you already know everything that you've seen in the guide, then that's great too. And so be it. If you know everything that's in that guide, call me because we can work together. I'm definitely looking to network and work with other teachers. So
Absolutely. Anyone that shares the same vision, same mission as David, I love to have you guys in the community really supporting these immigrants around the world, right? So yeah, so question time. If you guys have any questions for David or for myself, feel free to put in the chat. I don't know if we missed any questions. If you already shared the questions, we kind of missed it. Please ask again in the chat. We want to make sure we can answer these questions. And in the meantime, David, anything that you want to share we haven't covered yet?
From my perspective, I just want to really emphasize the fact that immigrants are people. I'm a person, you're a person. We're all people. We're all parents. We're all workers. We're all dreamers. we're all just looking for ways to improve our lives.
Mm.
Everybody is 100% capable of learning a second language just the way that we learned our first language. It just has to be done the right way. And your role as a teacher is to show them that it's possible and to support them, to motivate them, to be their coach, their mentor, their cultural ambassador, to get them going. This work isn't just instructional, right? This isn't a typical job. I'm not punching a clock. This is transformational. This is transformation not only for individuals, but for society as a whole. I'm not just teaching English and Spanish. I'm really trying to change lives and heal these communities that have been brought here for whatever reason. So I'm really looking for other teachers that want to join me in this mission and that aren't just looking at this as a job, as a way to make money, but really believe in that vision of a society where everybody knows everybody, everybody's friendly, everybody likes everybody, and everybody gets along with everybody.
All right. It's a beautiful world. I want to see too. All right, some questions from At Home with Jane. Hi, Jane. Can a person with neither a teaching degree nor experience but has passion get started with this program?
Absolutely. Yeah. It's curious. I have actually found that some of my best teachers, I've employed dozens of teachers over the years, and I've worked with other teachers to help get this program started in their local communities. And I've actually found that people with less experience can sometimes do better because they don't have the old ways, right? Over the last, knowledge and research and studies are changing and coming out all the time, and the language learning world has transitioned a lot over the last 100 years or 200 years, where, it used to be kind of like more of a grammar translation method to the direct approach to now what's increasingly coming out, and all the research is supporting what I do, which is called translanguaging. Which is using a student's native language as a tool, as a power, as something that empowers them within the classroom, right? So no, you don't need a whole lot of experience. You don't need any experience. What I mostly ask for, I think what makes the best teacher is somebody that just kind of has a gift for gab, somebody that likes to talk, somebody that's outgoing, and somebody that has a willingness to learn and to help people.
That's great. That's great. So if what David shared makes sense to you, James, just send him a LinkedIn message and get a guide and take a look at it. Of course, get connect with David if you have questions about this. Okay. Jason,
Yeah.
to be part of this initiative, maybe do it the other way around as well, teaching Spanish to English speakers.
Great comment. I have the same program backwards. I also teach Spanish. As a matter of fact, I saw him show up here. I forgot to mention him. Pedro, you showed up as one of the first people to comment here. Pedro is actually a great friend of mine, a colleague of mine. He has his own program, Pedro's Spanish Classroom, here in Denver as well. And he uses this program to teach Spanish, and he was actually the co-author with me on all the Spanish books. And
I didn't know that. Pedro.
Yeah. So yeah, this program goes both ways.
Nice. That's great. That's great. Awesome. All right. Any more questions from you guys? I hope you have enjoyed the live session so far. Give us a like if you really enjoyed the chat with David and to get inspired and learn something. Give us a like so we can get this video, the live session out there and let more people see it on social media. Yeah. So Helena, I can teach you Portuguese. That's great. Are you looking for teachers, David?
I'm always looking for teachers. Yeah, my goal is to connect and grow my network with as many teachers as possible. I don't have this program in Portuguese yet, but who knows? Maybe we can work together on that. But I think your question, if I'm looking for teachers, I have transitioned from running a full-time language school to working here in the comfort of my own home and training other teachers on how to do this. So I don't directly hire teachers. What I do is I train teachers on how to use this program, and I teach you how to do this. So it wouldn't be a job opportunity. It's more of a business opportunity, right? Where you're going to be learning from me on how to do this, and I'm going to teach you everything you can do. You know, like the saying says, if you give a man a fish, he can eat for a day. If you teach him how to fish, he can eat for the rest of the life. I'm going to teach you how to fish. You know, I don't want to give you a fish. I want to teach you how to fish.
Thank you for that. Alexandra said, thank you so much for this live session. It was very insightful. And there's another question. So let's just answer one more question here from Meno. How do you deal with culture conflicts, if there are any? I usually face an issue with some lessons when tackling a political religious topic.
Yeah, that's a good one. Wow. I think first and foremost, I studied cross-cultural communication intensively while I was in college, and then I put it into practice by living around the world. I lived in Spain, I lived in Chile, I lived in Argentina, I lived in Ecuador. I'm from the United States. I've traveled to Asia and all over Europe. And so to handle culture conflicts, I think first and foremost is you have to develop a deep cultural empathy. And I want to really, really stress the importance of the phrase culture is not right and it's not wrong and it's just different, right? So if you're teaching cultural concepts in your classes, I always start by saying my job is to inform you of what's considered acceptable here in the United States. What you do with that information is up to you. I'm not trying to change your culture. I'm not trying to insist that you adapt to our local culture. I'm just presenting you the culture so that you know what's acceptable. When I lived in Argentina, I found things that I could not accept because of my American values and my American traditions, and I found other things that I could accept. But I think that's what you want to do whenever if you're ever in a situation like that, right? Certain issues maybe you want to avoid if they're causing problems in the classroom. I used to talk about politics. I don't talk about politics anymore. We've transitioned from a country where you used to, and I have friends from all sides of the political spectrum, and I respect everybody. I listen to everybody. But I really try to avoid those topics of conversation because once upon a time you could talk about this stuff, and nowadays people are just too, dug in on and feel like it's their way or the highway, right? Religion, same thing, I think it's important to respect everybody, to respect their beliefs and their backgrounds and stuff like that. But maybe it's a topic you avoid if it causes problems.
Thanks for sharing that, David. And also, Laurie commented here, in culture issues, we try to find similarities and be cautious, curious about differences. Yeah, that's well said there, Laurie. Yeah, I think that will be it for today. Thank you very much, David, for your time and the lot of stories shared with us. Really inspiring and help us understand this growing market and opportunities for teachers and educators and language teachers. So if you are interested in learning more about this, I think the guide is going to be very, very valuable. So make sure you send David a message and connect with him on LinkedIn to get a guide. So you can take a look at it. If this is something you'd love to pursue or follow, David's looking for teachers to join this mission, this community he's building. And also thank everyone for being here during your day, wherever you're from. I know there's a time you try to make to spend with us. I really appreciate that. So David, I'll let you wrap up and share maybe one last message if you want before we finish. What do you want to tell the audience?
Yeah. Just thank you to James. Thanks to the whole team at Bowway. Please send me a connection invite. I think my handle on LinkedIn is just David E. Stevens, and then the number 3. I think James has shared it a couple of times here.
Yeah.
Send me an invite. Send me that message, Immigrant, so that I know to send you the guide that you're on the webinar today. You might need to be a little patient. I'm teaching a lot, and so sometimes it takes me a few days to get back to people. And if you're really interested, reach out to James, reach out to Boway, sign up for the Teachers Academy. I have found it a tremendous resource for me. I'm not, I know you're always surprised when I say that, James, but I love it. I love participating in the Teachers Academy. I think for any teacher that's out there, the world of teaching has changed. We're often undervalued and underappreciated in a traditional classroom setting, and stepping outside of the traditional classroom and learning how to run your own business is just so empowering. So, for what I'm doing for Immigrants teaching English, James is doing for us as teachers.
Thank you.
It's important to work with a coach and get a mentor to do this.
Absolutely. Thank you, David. Thanks everyone for joining us and spending 1 hour of your day with us. And let me share the event homepage with you one more time. I look forward to seeing you guys again. We have this AI workshop in August. It's gonna be really good. For if you have already used AI, ChatGPT, it's gonna be very valuable for you. If you have never used before, you're gonna learn so much. Okay, I hope to see you guys at the AI event, and we're gonna have more sessions. Hopefully I'm gonna get David back here, and I'm gonna share a little bit more about this market. Thanks in the future. Thank you very much, everyone. That's it for today. Appreciate it. I'll see you next time. Okay, take care. Bye bye. Take care.